just witnessed the aftermath of what was a really valiant effort from Leigh Wood, but it just turned on its head in an instant.
Yeah, look, I thought Leigh Wood was winning the majority of the rounds in there. He put in a great performance, an amazing atmosphere for him. And you have to commend him because he took a proper fight. A lot of people in that position, we offered him other fights, but he wanted the Lara fight. But yeah, that's boxing, and that's why we love boxing.
Rematch clauses often get slated, but I suppose you're doing your thing from your side. Would you like to see maybe Leigh exercise that rematch clause? And do you think if that fight does happen, would it happen here? Would it be Mexico, America?
Maybe not Mexico. Look, I think there's a lot of big fights to be made out there. There's obviously talk about the Warrington fight as well for Lara. Maybe the winner of them fights would go straight back into it. Let's see how it all plays out. He's got to take some time now. It's been a hard, long camp. Obviously, he had a long period out, didn't he? He was injured for the September fight, so pulled out of that. So he's had a long period out of the ring, really, when you think about it. He's got to take some time now, and then we'll plan from there. But there's a lot of big fights to be made.
Is it most likely the trilogy fight between Mauricio Lara and Josh Warrington? We saw, or we're hearing, I didn't quite see it myself, that Mauricio Lara jumped through the ropes and confronted Josh and then spat on him. It seems like the story's very much there and the fight is there too.
Yeah, look, there's definitely the narrative there. We've seen, obviously, the first fight, we all know what happened. The second fight didn't go anyone's way. But that's definitely a fight that can be made for sure. Josh Warrington wants it. There's a lot of hate still there between the two of them.
Sorry, Frank. Yeah, Mauricio has actually confirmed that he did spit at Josh Warrington. He said it's personal and he's going to end his career. Can I just ask twofold? Your thoughts on spitting at someone ringside when Leigh Wood was still prostate, and is that likely? Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara 3?
Obviously don't agree with spitting at people in any walk of life, whatever it is. I'm sure he probably doesn't think that's a good idea himself either. It was in the heat of the moment, but yeah, don't agree with that at all. With the fight itself, it's a massive fight, that third fight. We saw it fill out over 20,000 people in Headingley, didn't we, for the last one? First one, obviously, in the bubble. But it's a huge fight to be made. So let's, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of great fights to be made in the division as well. You got Kiko Martinez is going to Japan as well to fight for the IBF mandatory. You got Michael Conlan. We saw a great fight against him and Leigh Wood here nearly a year ago now. There's a lot of fights to be made. I think Conlan might be fighting Lopez, both with Top Rank obviously, but we're open to working with Top Rank and delivering some big fights over the next 12 months in the division.
We've spoken to Ben Davis and he said Leigh Wood's okay. Have you actually seen Leigh Wood yourself?
I saw him briefly afterwards. He went in and got medical checks and everything. But look, Leigh's a tough man. He'll be back stronger. Ben Davison did a great job. His role is to protect his fighter. No one knows Leigh Wood better than Ben Davison when it comes to boxing. So you have to respect his decision there. And Leigh will be back stronger. He's a great fighter. He would have kept on going as long as he could. But I think the right decision was made, and he can fight for another day now.
We'll take turns with the questions away from this one, Frank. David Adelaide won last night. Frank Warren said he wants Fabio Wardley. Is that a realistic fight that you guys can make with Queensbury?
Look, the Queensbury Matchroom thing, we've shown that we can make fights together. We've done a number of fights together now. I think Fabio's well sort of beyond that currently. But maybe one for the future. There's a lot of exciting fights out there. A lot of people calling out Fabio Wardley as well. Fraser Clark as well. But let's see. We've got to focus on Fabio's career. But it's an interesting fight for down the road, I'm sure.
Never popular when price hikes happen, but there's price hikes on both sides of the pond in the UK and in the USA. Can you tell us, do you feel that the Dazn schedule from boxing point of view justifies the price hike? I understand that NFL for this side of the pond as well has been introduced, but do you feel the schedule is strong enough to warrant a price hike?
I think we have the best schedule in boxing, undoubtedly. I think you look at the shows we've announced with much more to come as well. I think it's unrivaled in the sport. I think the way Dazn look at it as well is that they know their subscribers and they know they want to look after the loyal subscriber base. So the price. I think the price rise. You sign up to it a year, it's 30 pence more, I think, per month than the current price in the UK. So look, I think Dazn know what they're doing. Dazn understand their business, and like I say, for the loyal subscribers, if you want to opt in and out, there's a higher price. But if you're there for the year and watching all the shows, as I say, I think we have the strongest schedule in boxing. And I think we'll continue to deliver the strongest schedule in boxing. And, look at a longer term plan as well, and hopefully get things announced sooner. And I think all of this helps the sport of boxing.
Speaking of schedules and announcements, you've announced the 29th of April show in Sheffield. That might clash with a certain USYK Fury. Have you thought that through?
Well, look, the terms are all agreed for that fight, and we're just working out, obviously Dalton had a bit of a cut earlier, so we'll have to see in the next couple of days, everything okay with that. I don't personally see Fury, I might be wrong, and this isn't me saying I don't want it to happen. I just don't see how a fight of that magnitude, it's a massive fight, undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, has to be given the right build-up that it deserves for that type of fight. We don't see it very often. And I don't see how that happens in the next 10 weeks, is my opinion. Not saying it doesn't happen. I have my views around what happened with Saudi, etc., and it may be difficult to make it happen, but look, maybe they will pull it out of the bag in the next week. But I think the next week is the most important time to get that up and running, because for a show of that size, you can't really be leaving it much later.
These were Eddie's words, they weren't yours. But I found them quite interesting. He mentioned that the Fury-Usyk fight isn't big enough for Saudi to want to pay that money. I can't get my head around how an undisputed heavyweight fight between the two best in the division isn't worth that money. Could you break it down? Because you'll know facts and figures more than I would or the general public would.
Yeah, look, I think, Usyk agreed a fee for that fight. I think Frank Warren and Bob Arum said that he agreed a fee for that fight. So it was down to the Fury side to agree what they wanted. Maybe they are, the only thing I can imagine, they asked for a substantial amount of money that didn't make sense. Everything has a price that people are willing to go to. I think, and we'll get a lot of stick for this, but it's the same thing we always say, AJ's commercially the standout name in the division. People will point to different things, but he is. That's the reality. Like I said the other day, I think AJ Wilder is the bigger fight commercially right now than Usyk Fury. It's not me saying it's the bigger fight in boxing, or that's the most important fight in boxing. I just think that's a bigger fight, and it comes down to the fighters involved. So I don't know. We're obviously not involved in the detail of that fight, but yeah, I can understand what Eddie's saying there.
There seems to be a continuing spat, Frank, with Matchroom and TalkSport. Eddie's response earlier was he was delighted to sign a long-term deal with the BBC. A, where's that stemmed from? And B, can you clear up the whole argument that you seem to be having with them in regards to the Conor Benn situation?
Look, I don't think we don't have a good relationship with TalkSport. Our fight has been on there. Jermaine Franklin was doing interviews on there the other day. I think I believe BBC is the best platform out there to do these kind of partnerships with, the radio partnership, alongside all of their other opportunities and platforms they have. I think that's unrivaled. I don't think anyone would question that. The TalkSport piece, it's not really even just TalkSport, is it? It's one show or one person at TalkSport, and Simon Jordan, maybe Spencer Oliver, and they got a show on TalkSport, haven't they? Do their show or podcast. But I think separate the two conversations. BBC is a massive platform. We're delighted to be working with the BBC for the radio rights and everything that the build up they put behind the shows. We still continue to do stuff with TalkSport, so it's nothing aimed at TalkSport itself. It's just maybe that show. But let's see. Maybe we'll get Eddie and Simon Jordan in a room together. But I won't be there. I'm only going to be in the ring with Jordan.
Chris Eubank Jr. has activated his rematch clause with Liam Smith. Frank, I wonder, you can no comment on this if you feel like you would like to, but are you close enough with Chris to maybe say, because there's a feeling that maybe that's not the right decision to take that fight. If you wish to say that, could you say that, and would you take that on board?
No, look, it's a very separate. I don't talk to him about boxing really. Family side's one thing, boxing another. He's got a team around him who will help him make the right decision, and he's going to make the right call. There's a lot of pride involved as well, and he'll want to go back in there and try and avenge that defeat against Liam Smith. I think the difficulty always was Liam Smith's a great boxer, and everyone knew that as well. You know, so it wasn't always a big win fight for Chris Eubank, but he'll want to go in there and get and avenge that defeat. It's a tough fight. Liam Smith's, like I say, a brilliant fighter, but I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to it. It will be a great fight.
Last one from me, Frank. You talked about AJ Wilder being a big fight. Obviously, he's got Jermaine Franklin to get through before that. Do Matchroom have a plan for AJ after he's got through, hopefully, Jermaine Franklin?
Main focus, obviously, is get the April 1st fight up and running, get him back there, get him with a big win. You know, he needs to. I think he's obviously training out in Dallas. He's going to be taking a lot from that camp and learning a lot. And you know, we want to see the AJ of old coming back. And you know, I think we'll see a great performance from him. You know, at the same time, we work on. It's our job to work in the background on what we would look at doing next. Ultimately, it comes down to AJ. And what he wants to do. We have a lot of plans that we're looking at for the summer. The key is for him is activity this year. And you know, like I say, Anthony Joshua is still the biggest commercial star in the sport, you know, alongside Canelo. And we look forward to some big nights with him, kicking off with April 1st at the O2 live on Dazn.
Cheers, mate.